again. It's me, Kat, and this is Unscripted. And you are getting ready to listen to part 2 of my dance story. Since you've returned, I assume I haven't completely bored you to tears, and I can only hope that you are on the edge of your seat, waiting to hear more about me as a dancer, because that's what you're gonna get. So let's get right to it. In February of the year 2000, when I was in the middle of college, my friend Diane asked me to attend her audition for Narrowway Productions with her, just as her moral support, because she was nervous. So I agreed to go. Now, if I could go back in time and tell my 19-year-old self how significant that night was about to be, I don't think I would have believed myself. So as I waited in the lobby for my friend to audition, the woman at the table helping with the auditions saw me just standing around, and somehow she saw through my giant Jinko pants and a really ridiculously tiny t-shirt and my angsty teenager expression, and saw a person who might be good on stage. I don't know. I couldn't tell you what she saw, but I was there. She asked if I was a performer, and I think I said, I guess. And she said, do you sing? Do you act? And I said, oh, well, I act some. Oh, and I dance. And it was really the first time I'd ever said out loud to a stranger, I dance. But it was out of my mouth before I knew it. The person asking the questions was Donna Patterson. And when she heard that I was a performer of any kind, because she is not the type of person to let an opportunity walk out the door, and Narrowway was only about 3 years old at the time, so she sort of pounced on the opportunity. And the next thing I knew, I had filled out an audition form, and she went to her car and got a tape of some sort of worship song that I don't remember. And I was agreeing to go in and do an audition for, I didn't even know who I was auditioning for. And you could call it fate or kismet or destiny or some other word you would hear in a Hallmark movie. But that night really did change the course of my life. That night, at those auditions that were held in the old studio on the PTL property in Fort Mill, South Carolina, just absolutely changed my direction. That night, for the first time in my life, I danced in front of strangers. I performed a dance in front of people, and it was the first time where I performed for people who had no expectations. It was a theater company, and I understood on some level that these people didn't think that dance was silly or a waste of time, that this was their livelihood, and so it was just as valuable as anything in the world. And that was a major change from the reaction I had gotten in my home at that time. And so I absolutely danced with everything in me. That's all that I remember about it. Not the song, not anyone's face, not even specifically what I wore or the choreography. I just remember that I danced with everything in my soul for about 3 minutes. And the next thing I knew, I was a cast member with Narrowway Productions, and I was being asked to be a lead dancer. And it absolutely blew my mind. It would be really cool to tell you that after that audition, I became an incredibly famous dancer, and went off to New York and made tons of money dancing. But that's not what happened at all. And I think what happened to me was something even better than that. because I became a consistently working dancer. I got to dance all year long in all different kinds of shows for many, 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 many years. And that was the best thing that could happen for me. And I was absolutely thrilled. Never had I ever imagined that this thing that I loved, that I had kept secret for so long, would become such a major part of my life, and that anyone would ever want to watch me dance. But it happened. And for the next 15 years, I danced through my life. I got to dance for audiences of up to 3,000 people. That's not an exaggeration. There were multiple times when we performed in an outdoor amphitheater that we had crowds of 3,000 people. I got to do all kinds of styles of dance. I got to do traditional Jewish dance in shows like Jesus the Teacher, and Two Thieves and a Savior. I got to do jazz and lyrical and ballet in things like Not Just Another Love Story and Geronimo, and 20 years ago. I got to do stage combat combined with some unusual kinds of dance, and more like, almost felt like modern dance in Lord of Light. And eventually down the road, got to learn to climb the silks and perform as an aerialist, like some of the things you see in Cirque du Soleil in the show Lord of Light. But every year at Christmas, I got to dance in the show The Real Christmas Story. It was a combination of jazz and some country western and lyrical. And it also, in that show, there was a ballet point solo. And I had the great privilege of creating the solo in 2003 for the song Angels Among Us that our music director rearranged. She rearranged the song by Alabama to take it from being a country song to being more of a ballad. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful song. Come see The Real Christmas Story and hear it. But in that song, I danced a point solo for 15 years, and it is absolutely, every time I danced it was significant. That was one of the most special, unique, and incredible opportunities of my life. And even though the dance itself was only 1 to 2 minutes long, it was always one of the best minutes of my life. The song Angels Among Us is about remembering people in our lives who've made a difference, whether they're still alive, whether they've already passed on. It's about remembering the people that have changed you or helped you or just been there for you. You know, all types of angels that walk among us. And every single time I danced it, it was for someone or something, and it mattered every time. And I am absolutely convinced that any compliments that I ever got, because I'm not the world's greatest ballerina, nor am I the world's best technical dancer on point. I'm average. But my interpretation is not average. And every time I danced it, it was with my whole heart. And I believe anytime I ever got a compliment on it, that's why. That's the thing that people saw that was special. Not my feet or my tricks or my technique or any of those things. It was the heart. During my years at Narrowway, I did a quick calculation, and I figured that I probably performed for close to 100,000 people over all of the years. that I've had the privilege of performing there. And in all those 15 years, I didn't just perform on the Narrowway stage. I performed at other places. I danced at church, I danced at marketing events, at conferences, at conventions, lots of other places as well. And I took classes consistently too at a couple different studios, did several recitals. No matter what was going on in my life, there was always dance. It was something that was consistent, that I could always depend on and always come back to. It was like an anchor for me. Now, I figured at some point in my life, I would have to stop dancing, you know. I mean, I knew that conceptually, you know, but I figured, someday, you know, when I'm 70 years old, I'll have to quit, you know. I'll look ridiculous, and they'll have to just quietly escort me off the stage and say, I think it's time to stop now. But I was determined to dance as long as possible. I figured that I would be one of the oldest dancers to ever put on a pair of jazz shoes and go out on a stage. I couldn't imagine a life without dance at that point. And it never occurred to me that that would change. And then after about 15 years, life decided to throw me a curveball. And that's all for today. I know, it's a cliffhanger. So you'll have to come back and hear the rest. If you are tired of listening to me talk, and my voice is annoying and my face is weird, then you can read my blog. I will put the link to the written version down there in the comments. Also, if you want to support your local freelance author, that's me, Kat, then check out my Patreon account. It is also down there in the comments. Also, like my post, subscribe to my channel, and as always, remember to love one another. Love blindly, boldly, and without bounds.